Hungry dogs run fast.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into my dog's favorite podcast, the Dynasty Dogs, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Universe. I am your host for this evening, Michael Anthony, and with me, back in the doghouse, is my co-host, the greatest second baseman in Newman University history, Richard McAteer. How are you this evening?
So the cough is pretty much gone along with my voice. So if you're wondering why I sound like a maniac, that's why.
He hasn't gotten over the Eagles Super Bowl win. That's why his voice
As
is
I
still the
die.
way it is. He's been
Dude,
celebrating
and the
the whole
flu is
time.
going around, man.
Yeah, it
Killing
is.
me.
It is. Tonight, we are going to be going over our That Bite segment as usual, news and notes around the league. Things are starting to get a little hot and heavy recently with rumors and such. Then we're going to go over our top 12 Dynasty wide receiver rankings. And then we will go over two profiles on the Ohio State running backs in Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson. Very excited to talk about these two guys. These are two high-profile running backs. But let us get into the new graphic for the That Bite segment, brought to you by SC Romero. You can follow him at the PPR Show, the greatest dude in Devi Dynasty and all that jazz. The That Bite segment, again, is our news and notes, so let's get quickly into that before my computer takes a crap again like it's been this hour. Like we mentioned earlier, the NFL Combine has begun. Rich is not big on the combine. I myself am lukewarm on the combine. A lot of people opting out, but the tight ends are participating, I believe, as we speak. Anything you're going to be watching for? Is there anything about the combine that you enjoy?
Dude, I don't know. I feel like it's just so rudimentary at this point. It's like I've always said,
That is the biggest word I've ever heard you use in life. But go on.
They just kind of, it's just, such things that like, you don't have pads on. You're in like spandex suits. I really don't find it
the
at
underwear
all.
Olympics.
Really, yeah. It's I don't. Not to say I don't get it because some people are all into it, but it's just like I really don't find how much it translates into the pros.
Some of the stuff is interesting, like the cone drills, the one with the wide receiver. I forget exactly what it's called, where you run the straight line, and you have to turn and catch the ball at the same time. I can't remember the name for it.
But I feel like it's completely different once you put pads on. So it's kind of like
for sure. You're adding a little bit more weight, stuff like that. Obviously, vision.
And you can't move as well. Yeah,
right. But it is still important, like I mentioned,
your football fix, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the tight ends are participating. That's Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, Gunnar Helm, Elijah Arroyo. A couple of the injury related. Harold Fannin is going to participate. Mason Taylor, a couple high profile guys. Cam Ward's not going to throw. Shador's not going to throw. Jackson Dart and Milroe are both going to throw. Ashton Genty not participating at all. Believe Tet McMillan is not participating, and Luther Burden is, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty much nobody's really doing anything except interviews.
Do you think this gets to a point where, because each year that happens, that it pretty much like just gets eliminated? Like it's like more and more people
it'll ever be
aren't
fully
participating.
Eliminated. Yeah, maybe less people are less people will go. I don't know. It still holds a purpose because it gathers all the NFL teams together, and then interviews are done and stuff, like things we won't see on television, obviously. Sure. So it still holds a purpose. I don't know how much longer the TV stuff is going to go on because a lot of people want to see Cam Ward throw, Shador throw, but again, it also makes sense. Both these guys have played college football for 5 years now, and it's like, what am I really proving on a brand new turf in Indianapolis? Apparently, they just changed over everything. Why not throw at your pro day with people that you're, familiar with and, in an area you're familiar with? So why not take advantage of that? But it is what it is. Speaking of the combine, Travis Hunter says he wants to play 100% of snaps on both sides of the ball. He says he's just different because everyone's saying, like, how is that possible? But what do you think about that? And what do you think this means for Dynasty? Are you avoiding him or?
I think this like adds such a crazy element to Dynasty just because it's like you look at almost like um what's his name? Hill. Tyson
Taysom
Hill.
Hill? Yeah.
So it's like, is he going to get quarterback points and tight end points? Is he going to get quarterback tight end? Is he going to get all the points? So is he going to, you know what I mean? But I think as far as like him professionally, I'm sure, I mean, he's been doing it all through college. Why can't he do it in the pros?
It is a
I feel
little bit
like if
different.
sure it's a little bit different, and I'm sure they're not going to let him just because of the money factor. It's kind of an investment.
Mhm.
On whoever takes him. But if I appreciate the confidence, and I like that he thinks that he can do it. And to this point, he hasn't proven that he can't do it. So I think whatever team he goes to, it's going to be more or less they don't want him to get hurt rather
Mhm.
than he's physically unable to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm afraid of is that he played at Colorado, not, to Pac-12 school, but did go up against some high competition, obviously.
Mhm.
The NFL is much stronger, faster. Will he be able to play both sides of the ball? He's not the biggest dude. He's not the strongest dude.
Mm.
Is he going to be able to go up against a guy like A.J. Brown, 20 plays, a game,
Yeah.
and then go against Devontae 20 plays a game, and then go against Quinyon Mitchell on the other side of the ball. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is that something that he could? Because Quinyon's a pretty physical corner, and so is Cooper. So I'm
Sure.
just throwing that out there because it's like are you going to be able to withstand that kind of
Mhm.
physicality and difference that the NFL brings compared to college? Very interesting, though, what he's going to mean for fantasy football. IDP leagues where you could get points even if he plays wide receiver and makes tackles. Like, I
Mm.
think that's super valuable. Like in our home league, no matter where he gets drafted, he's going to accumulate points on either side of the ball.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting. But in regular fantasy dynasty leagues where it's just offense, that makes me a little nervous, to be honest with you. Like, because if he does play both sides of the ball, I don't think 100% of the snaps is physically possible.
That'd be crazy, dude. He just wouldn't be off the field.
Yeah, which is
Like
unhealthy to
special
the max.
teams. Yeah.
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 um, the original note I have on here for the next thing is Matthew Stafford set to meet with the Rams today. Raiders and Giants reportedly interested. And then I didn't get to update this, but he's staying with the Rams, not going anywhere. What do you think about this? Is it the right move for Stafford? Uh,
Uh,
do you think that, like, honestly, I don't know why the Giants would even be interested. They don't have the team ready for that. But
the Giants don't know their ass from their elbows at this point. I think it's probably the better move for Stafford to stay in Los Angeles. I mean, it wouldn't have been a bad move to go to Las Vegas, I don't think.
with Pete
Um,
Carroll,
they Pete Carroll, they have $100 million to work with a cap, which is fucking enormous. You can go out and trade for a guy. You can go out and get a wide receiver, or I think if they would have traded for him and then drafted Ashton Genty at 6, that would have been a pretty sweet setup. But as far as good move, I think it's a comfortable move.
yeah.
Um, to kind of see nothing's really going to change aside from Cooper Kupp leaving wherever he may go. Um, so, but I think it would have been Rams, Raiders, and then 50 spots down will be the Giants. So I don't. I think it was the right move.
Yeah, to me, this is the right move as well. I think the Rams are the closest team out of the three of them to
Yeah.
winning. And the Rams really were, you know, Jalen Carter destroying that offensive line from beating us in the playoffs. That
Yeah.
throw to Puka Nacua on the sideline there, I was like, oh shit, we're
Mhm.
fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
They
got a
he was
little nervous
marching
there.
him.
Yeah. So I think, still a good football team, still has a really good coach, has a really good defense, young defense, for that matter. But I'm glad he's staying. I'm glad for Puka Nakua's sake for at least another year. I'm glad that that's going to continue. Um, two more things in news. I forgot. I didn't add this one. There is apparently a trade offer on the table for DK Metcalf to go to the Green Bay Packers. Josh Jacobs a few weeks ago famously said they need a wide receiver one, and why not go get the big dog over there in DK? They reportedly would want the Packers first and one of either Romeo Dobbs or Dontavian Wicks for DK Metcalf, and then a later round pick thrown in. What do you think about this move? Does it make sense for either
Dude,
team or?
I think it makes a lot of sense for Green Bay finally going out and, like, getting an actual first round talent, you know, guy who's established himself. I think this would be great for guys who, like myself, have DK on their roster and Jordan Love on the roster. I think this will give, Jordan Love a huge target. I think you would see DK's numbers go up and then stay up, like almost like stay from like 18 to 23 points a game, just because last season you've seen him, he'd have a 20-point game, then he'd have a 7-point game, and then he'd have a 14-point game, and then he would just be all around the board. Whereas I think with Jordan Love, he comes out with a big arm and is going to fire to him. You have a number one, a set number one. You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're missing.
Yeah,
So I
I
think that'd be
agree.
fantastic for Green Bay.
And I think it would be fantastic for Seattle as well, a team that really needs to fix that offensive line, that decrepit offensive line that they have. And,
Yeah.
Romeo Dobbs wouldn't be a bad addition. I still think that would help JSN, a guy who could play the boundary like Dobbs. And then they could probably draft another one in the second round, like a guy
Mhm.
like Trey Harris, to almost mimic what they had in DK Metcalf. But would this what would this do to your dynasty ranks in regards to DK and, let's say, Jaden Reed if he goes to Green Bay?
I think DK would move up, because I don't have him in my top 12. We'll go over that. Um,
Mm, I don't either, but
and I think that would move him up substantially, just because, like I said, you got a much more established quarterback. And then who did you say Reed going to
Jaden Reed, if he
Seattle?
stays in, obviously he's going to stay in Green Bay, but does that drop him at all for you?
I think it does, just because he wouldn't get, I guess, the targets, but he
Mhm.
would be open more, so it'd be like kind of confusing. I
Yeah,
feel
so
like it'd be
for
like
me,
he would get less targets, but I feel like he
quality of
almost
target.
have more, yeah, like he'd have more catches because he's gonna be open more, but he's gonna get less targets, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so what I think is DK would obviously rise because the quarterback play would rise, and they
Mm,
don't have an athletic freak like they do in DK
mhm,
Metcalf. But I also think this bumps up Jaden Reed slightly. I don't think he's going to pop into my
mhm,
top, 15 or 20 or anything like that. But, this is a guy who's creative after the catch, kind of like a utility, type wide receiver that you need to give the ball to make plays happen. What's it called? Manufactured touch kind of guy who still can run
mhm.
routes. I think this benefits him slightly, and I would be interested to see how that would play out for both of those guys. And I think it would what's it? High tide raises all ships or something like that. Whatever the
Something like
High
that.
high noons on a Saturday? I don't know, something like that.
Drink high
Uh,
noons?
yeah, drink high
Drink
noons.
high noon on Saturday? Alright.
Yeah.
Say no more.
But, yeah, very interesting if that ends up going down, and I, for some reason, feel like that's gonna be a closer to the draft type move.
Mhm,
Um, Not yet. Last bit of news I have here, Khalil Shakir gets a 4-year, $60 million extension with the Buffalo Bills. Well deserved, in my opinion, averages out to about
mhm,
15 a year. Um, So also kind of tells you what the Bills think of him and what that does for his dynasty value because now he's attached to Josh Allen for multiple
mhm.
years. What do you think?
I think he's earned that, definitely. This was a guy that you've been, hounding about and, like, love this dude, which is I mean, he's proven himself, obviously. And this gives Josh Allen a bona fide number one. You don't really know what you have in Keon Coleman yet with his injuries and his up and down, but you have steady Eddie like Khalil Shakir, and I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this keeps his dynasty value still pretty. I would give up the 201 for him.
Mm,
Bring him onto my roster, still young, attached to Josh Allen, going to give you a solid, 10 to 14 points a game.
mhm.
And, you could throw him in your flex. You could throw him as your wide receiver 3, depending on what you have. I love Khalil Shakir. I'm so glad he got this payday. And again, I do think they need to bring in another like speedy type wide receiver to play the outside.
Mhm.
We're not sure about Keon Coleman.
Right,
Even if they bring in somebody like an Amari Cooper-esque type of wide receiver again, like they did last year, that just didn't work.
right.
They do need to bring somebody else in to help Josh Allen get over the hump. But good move for them. Do you have anything else that I might have missed besides the Eagles hired the Bowling Green head coach
Bowling
to
Green
be
coach.
their
What was that guy's
QB
name?
coach. I just saw it right before he went on. Hold on, I'll Google it quick. Unless you
The only dude ever to get kicked out of a game for 2 unsportsmanlikes in a game. It's pretty
Oh,
awesome.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, Bowling Green. I
Yeah.
can't find
Scott Loafers, which the
mm,
world is firing off that Harold Fannin might be in play for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, I would love that.
yeah, that'd be a good move. They definitely need a tight end. I don't know where they go with as far as Dallas Goedert. I
He's
don't, I
a
don't think
free
he's
agent
under
at the end of the
contract.
year.
Yeah. So what I'd like to see him draft a guy like Fannin. Sure. Who do I really want? I love Loveland. So
You
I
love some
don't think
Loveland?
I don't yeah, I don't think they go that high.
No, I don't
Um,
think so either.
Personally, if you want some news to be dropped, and I'm going to say it here first. I don't think they're picking in the first round this year. I think that pick's going to Cleveland, and a
For
guy by the
Myles
name of
Garrett.
I honestly feel it in my bones
Hmm.
that he's getting
Yeah, I
traded
could see
here.
it.
But we'll
I could
see.
see
I
it.
don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but I think they make a move for him. But they do need a tight end. Calcaterra's a nice piece, but he's not um, the number one. Fannin would be nice.
Yeah, I agree. So let's get into our top 12 dynasty wide receivers. We decided we are going to start from 12 on like we did last week. I threw Rich off with that a little bit, so I apologize to
Yeah.
Rich. Rich, would you like to lead us off with your 12 through 9?
12 through 9. Okay, so 12 through 9. I don't know if it's going to shock you at all. But I got
Go
I
ahead.
got I got Lad McConkey at 12.
Okay, we're close.
Nico Collins at 11.
We're also close there. We're very close so far.
Marvin Harrison Jr. at 10.
Yeah, it's really weird how close we are right now. Usually this is not the case for you and I.
And then I got Drake London at 9.
Okay, I have Drake a little higher,
Okay.
but I can't argue against it. Who there are you most excited about? Do you think can raise from where they are right now to maybe higher
I think it's I,
expectations?
I think it's really no question that Marvin Harrison I think can go from 10 to into the top 5 if he plays up to the way he played at Ohio State. Um, Kind of got a guy like Lad McConkey at 12 who kind of overperformed for me. I feel like he's definitely higher than I originally thought he would be. He kind of opened my eyes a little bit this year with the Chargers, but I
Yes,
think Marvin
so mad
Harrison.
I spoke him up to you so much
I
in
know.
that
Thank
draft
you so
last
much
year.
for that. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I hate myself for that, to be honest with you.
He can be
Uh,
had.
yeah, well, he's too spicy for the pepper for me right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think Nico could also maybe slightly move up. Not
Yeah.
crazy amount. Like we're in the top 12 right now. These are wide receiver ones, right? In our
Mm,
mind. These are guys that we think for the next 4 to 5 years are still going to be
mhm,
super fantasy relevant. I think a guy
sure.
like you mentioned, I'll get right into mine. Actually, my number 12 is slightly different than yours. Is Jackson Smith-Njigba, a wide receiver
Okay.
for Seattle. I think whether DK Metcalf or not, whoever they bring in, I'd still like JSN there. I think he's built a bond with Geno Smith. They seem to want to bring Geno back. JF Smith, JSN, Geno
Jennifer
Smith,
Smith.
and yeah, balled out last year, man. And we were really
Yeah.
hoping for it for a second year breakout for him. This is a guy you and I both really liked coming out of the draft, a really good route runner, really solid hands. Just very excited to see what happens with him for the next year. My number 11 is actually your number 12, which is Ladrick McConkey.
Okay.
I'm very excited about him. They could bring in a boundary, big body wide receiver like a DK
Mm,
Metcalf. That would actually be a good spot for DK, would be the
yeah.
Chargers. And I'd still feel super confident with Lad. I think that would basically be what Seattle has now with JSN and DK. You could just pretty much copy
Yeah.
and paste that with Lad and DK.
Sure.
Just a guy I feel going to be in your top 20 fantasy points every single year. A guy who's just going to continuously get open, PPR machine. Very excited to see what they do. And I think bringing in a boundary guy wouldn't be a bad thing at all for him, for a guy who just tears it up in the short to intermediate middle of the field.
Right.
And especially being attached to a guy like Justin Herbert. Mind you, Justin might not be the greatest playoff quarterback as of right now,
No.
but it's only wheels up for that
Right.
offense, in my opinion, with Harbaugh at the helm. My number 10 is, I believe was your number 11, is Nico Collins. Struggled a little bit this year, had a little bit injury issues. The offense really never got its footing between him, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell being banged
Mhm.
up. I do see an uptick. He's an alpha wide receiver one,
Yeah.
and he is Stroud's go-to guy. So I have no fears that he could possibly arise as well. And my number 9 is Marvin Harrison Jr. This is a guy, like you mentioned,
Okay.
should be in the top 5. It really just was a slow start for him. Really never got the connection with Kyler Murray going. I do see that changing this year. This guy's just too gifted. And maybe this was kind of like the thing where it's like, I'm so gifted, I really don't need to shine. You know what I mean? Or I don't need to try that hard.
Yeah.
Who knows? This is going to be a wake up call year for him. I'm hoping to raise back up in our top 5s. I forgot to mention before we went into our 12 through 9. Do you have any honorable mentions you want to mention?
I like DK. DK was probably right outside of my 12. JSN as well. They're probably like 13, 14, 15 area.
Okay. For me, guys like Brian Thomas Jr., I think
Ooh.
needs to be, he's my number 13 right now. Just an explosive playmaker.
You're
You
not
don't
gonna
like,
like where I got him then.
you got him higher?
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I just want to see what this offense looks like with Liam Cohen, and I think we'll be
Yeah.
all right. And I want to see what
Duval.
happens with Trevor, because
Why'd you
what's
have to
that?
mention his
A
goddamn name?
Duval.
Duval.
Yeah, I need to see what this looks like with Trevor Lawrence healthy, because he did look pretty good with Mac. It just never really got it going with Trevor that
Yeah.
much.
Right.
And then last guy, and man, he's fallen for me a little bit. My number 14 guy is Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
He should be in the top 10. It's just we're waiting for the quarterback situation to figure
Yeah.
itself out. Dude's such a
Sure.
good playmaker, and he's just getting like Aaron Rodgers out, Devontae Adams out. You got to
Yeah.
feel bad for the kid a little bit.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but let's get
He'd
into
probably he'd probably be 13, DK 14, JSN 15.
yeah.
Probably be the way I'd go.
Okay. No love for a Roma Dunze or Devontae Smith in your honorable mentions.
Shit.
Yeah, we're in a blessed
Yeah.
time of wide receivers, man.
Fine. Take JSN off and
Whoa. Yeah.
Devontae in front of DK. So Garrett Wilson 13, Devontae 14, DK.
Uh-oh, you froze. Or did I freeze? One of us is frozen. And not in the good Disney type of movie Frozen. One of us is certainly stuck. But Rich was saying swap out Devontae, or is it me who's frozen?
15.
Ro, what happened there?
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. What happened there, buddy?
We're so back. I don't know. I could hear you. Could you hear me?
No, not at all. You were stuck like this, like talking. Yeah.
I don't know. We're good now.
Yeah, we're good. Let's get into because we're going to run into more technical difficulties. I can feel it. Let's go through our 5 through 8. Rich, who's number 8 and why?
That'll be Mr. Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay.
I got Brian Thomas Jr. at 8. I think he had a spectacular, definitely take by surprise rookie season. I did not think he was going to be as good as he was. Him and Trevor kind of hit strides, although at times Trevor looked like shit. I think that kind of gets better with the additions they're going to make in the offseason. And I'm like really excited to see him in his sophomore year. I think he's going to be the clear-cut number 1. I read that the offense is going to run through him. So I'm kind of excited to see. Yeah. So I'm kind of excited to see where that takes us.
Mm-hmm. Who's number 7?
Number 7 will be Mr. Arthur Jawan Brown. AJ Brown. I got AJ Brown at 7. He would be higher, but you know how the offense runs here. It runs through Saquon. It's a heavy, heavy, heavy run offense, but he still puts up points. He still gives you that 18 to 20 points a game. when he gets his catches are limited because it's a run-heavy offense, so that's the reason why he's at 7.
Hmm.
I
I like
think if
it.
that offense changed, it would move up, but for now, he's at 7. Um, Number 6, I got Mr. Puka Nacua.
Oh,
I
okay.
think what, too high, too low?
No, we'll get into it.
Okay.
I'm not far off from you.
I think he's kinda shown me that he's gonna be the clear-cut number 1, especially with Cooper Kupp leaving. They don't really have that many great options at the wide receiver position. Um, Gives you that 20 to 25 a game, which is, solid number 1 receiver numbers. Um, and now with Stafford coming back, I guess you could move him up a little bit because you know
Mhm.
where the quarterback position is gonna be. So, he's 6, and number 5 will be Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
Um,
Yep. That's a
Malik
good one.
Neighbors has shown you what kind of playmaker he is, especially towards the end of the season. What was it the last game, the playoff game he had, or fantasy playoff game, was like 43 points, scored 3 touchdowns. Um, I think with better quarterback play, that those numbers are only gonna go through the roof. Um, if he's putting that up with dog shit quarterbacks, who the hell they have?
Tommy
Locker,
DeVito, Lock,
Don Vito, whoever, yeah. All
Daniel
these
Jones.
guys, Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones. If you get him a number 1 number 1 quarterback, I think his numbers will skyrocket.
What happens if they bring in Cam Ward?
I think he goes in the top 3 number
Yeah,
area.
very scary.
Dude, like, yes.
Scary
They will
hours.
go through the roof, dude, yeah. Because like I said, if he's giving you these numbers with all these multiple quarterbacks who are all awful,
Mhm.
imagine what he could do with a proven quarterback.
I think that's why they were trying to get a Matt Stafford is to get the
Yeah,
most out of Malik Neighbors. Um, would that help their team really? Not really,
not
because
really.
that team's not close at all. But
No.
it's a good 8. It's a good 8 through 5. I have a very similar one as well, and
Cool.
that is going to be my number
8.
8 for me. Yeah, sorry, is our AJ Brown as well. A
Okay.
guy who kind of had a down year in regards to fantasy football, but still finished as wide receiver 12 on the season. So
Okay.
again, a wide receiver 1, only 27, 28, if I'm not mistaken, years old. Still has
Mhm.
plenty of football left. The biggest, strongest dude in the room. Don't got to really worry about him too much. I'm very excited to see how they deploy him this year with a new offensive coordinator. Could be a little different. Um, I would like for them to give him more opportunity in the yards after catch department. I felt like this year it was a little more of like throwing it down the field to him on those fade routes and stuff like that. While he excels in those, he's one of the best yak wide receivers we have in football.
Oh,
I'd like
yeah.
to see a little bit more of that from AJ Brown, and that's not really him. That's more coaching. The
Mm.
next one I have for me is a guy you have, and that's going to be Drake London at number
Oh,
7.
okay.
Yeah. Again, 24 years old. He was finished as, what do I have here? Wide receiver 14. But, Richard, when Michael Penix was in, he was absolutely on a tear with Michael Penix. He was just feeding him the rock,
Mhm.
uh, big plays. A guy who's not afraid to air it out, Michael Penix. I'm excited for this duo going forward. This is an ascending offense, in my opinion, and that's when you want to get in on these pieces when they start to hit the upswing. Uh,
Well, I have a
Go ahead.
question then for Drake London. Will this now they haven't named a starter in Atlanta. I forget what I read about Kirk Cousins. They said nothing changed and nothing's changing. Something like that. I forgot I read it a few weeks ago. So does that mean they revert back to Kirk Cousins? And if they do, does that move him up or down? Obviously not up, but down
I
in
don't.
fantasy or your lineup.
I don't think. I don't think they go back to Cousins at this point. I heard a rumor that I saw something that they'd be comfortable having him as the backup quarterback. Um,
It's an
yeah,
expensive
it's an
backup, man.
expensive backup, man. But the offense just looks significantly better with
Mm,
Penix than it did with Kirk Cousins. And I don't see why you should go back to that. Now, was Kirk not healthy? Kirk not healthy? Maybe. Maybe that's why he didn't look as good. But again, you have a young, arm talented quarterback. You need to take advantage of that. You need to let this
mm.
offense grow with Michael Penix because he is your future. Kirk isn't, right?
Yeah.
They were a play or two away from making the playoffs with Kirk Cousins at the helm there at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. My number 6 is a guy you mentioned, Malik Neighbors, finished as wide receiver 6 with Dookie quarterbacks, and Dookie, I mean Duke quarterback Daniel Jones. There is nothing stopping from this dude from being a top 3 guy if he gets a better quarterback, kind of like we mentioned. Not great for us Philadelphia Eagle fans, but great for us fantasy football wise.
Right.
This dude's an electric playmaker. We saw exactly what we saw on film coming out of college is exactly what we saw in the NFL. It's just wheels up as soon as they get a quarterback. And to be honest, he seems quarterback proof at this point, which is crazy to think about.
Right. I agree
Number
with that.
5 for me is we have a swap, I believe at 5 and 6 is Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua to me, I worry a little bit about the injuries and what happens after Matthew Stafford? Slightly, right? But this dude, when he's on the football field, is one of the best wide receivers in football. Finished, he didn't even play the full season. He still was a top 5 wide receiver in regards to fantasy football points, which is insane if you think about it. I love the fact that he's, no matter what happens, he's still in a Sean McVay offense. And this is just a do-it-all, scrappy type wide receiver that it's going to be in the league for a long time if he can just stay healthy. Those are some of the issues. It's just health for him is going to be the one thing he's going to have to overcome. He had those issues in college too at BYU. Let's see if that continues. But if you're going to get 12 weeks out of him as being one of the best wide receivers, I can't really bet against it. You know what I mean? So let's go into your 4 through 1, Rich. Who do you have?
4 through 1. I don't think we're going to
be
very different.
I don't think so.
No.
Because unless you've got like something crazy in there that I'm not expecting.
No. I got Amon-Ra at 4. I think he's proven that he's at least 4. I think he's proven that he can be on the upper tier. But the ball gets spread around so much, and they run the ball a lot there with their 2 with Montgomery and Gibbs, which I see why. Number 3 would be CeeDee Lamb. What can I say about CeeDee Lamb? He goes out and makes catches, and it is what it is. He's top 3. He's a top 3 wide receiver with whoever's throwing him the ball.
True.
And I
Even
think
Cooper Rush too.
Shit. Yeah, and I think with Dak coming back, he's got a chance to get higher than that. But for now, he's 3. 2, I got Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
So Justin Jefferson last season really did not have a great season. He was hurt. And now with the quarterback, who's going to be there? Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy to start the season? Are they going to bring back Darnold? Are they going to go another route? We don't know.
Okay.
So, and number 1 is Jamar Chase. I think the continuity with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow just is on another level. We've seen it a million times. I've been on the other end of it. I've been on the other end.
Yeah, you mentioned that last week too.
So it's until he proves otherwise, I think he's going to be my number 1 for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we have a very similar list. There's only one slight difference that I have from yours. All the players are the same, just one flip-flop. My number 4, Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of your favorite players in football. He's in our intro, number 1 in our hearts, I guess. But this is just a dude who's part of an offense that is extremely explosive. The best playmaker on that team, or best wide receiver, Jahmyr Gibbs, might be a close 1A, 1B with just how electric he is, right? Sure. But St. Brown is just your get open, beat the hell out of everybody else kind of wide receiver. He could make a case for number 1, to be honest with you.
Sure.
4 through absolutely. 1 to me is kind of almost like these are the best of the best. I have no issue of who you have 4 through 1. Number 3, I did think about swapping him with St. Brown 4 through 3, but it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. I am a little worried about Brian Schottenheimer calling plays. We'll have to see what that brings. We'll see what happens there. But again, you mentioned it, quarterback proof, played with Cooper Rush, played with a banged up Dak Prescott, still produces at an elite level. sorry, I'm getting a phone call as I'm trying to read my notes here. Still finished 7th in fantasy football points with one of the worst offenses in football and being the only option on that offense this past year. Number 2 for me is where we flip-flop, and that's going to be Jamar Chase.
Okay.
Again, no argument with me whether you have him or Jefferson at number 1. The fact that he's tied to Burrow is fantastic. Has been a guy who's been banged up in history. He was extremely healthy this year, extremely productive. He was the number 1 wide receiver in points per game. I have no argument. But Justin Jefferson finished as the 2nd fantasy football finish in wide receivers, 3rd in points per game with fucking Sam Darnold at quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a dude, you could throw me and you out there and he'd still produce. Will Chase be, the number 1 fantasy scorer without Joe Burrow? We don't know. We're never going to see that, to be honest with you. And Joe Burrow's getting up there in age. You got another guy who can't stay healthy. Well, he was healthy. I can't argue against that. He just did that. But Jefferson, to me, is just the best wide receiver in football. And again, no argument 1 through 4, but for me, what he's done with a multitude of quarterbacks, whether it be Darnold, Kirk, I believe they had to start somebody else at one point last year too, whose name is escaping me. But again, or 2 years ago, not last year, the year before that, Kirk was banged up.
It was Dobbs,
again. Oh, yeah. That's exactly who it was. So again, just a dude who gets it done. Is a first round Superflex startup pick in Justin Jefferson. Whether JJ McCarthy's a quarterback, Sam Darnold's a quarterback, Justin Jefferson's number 1 to me. But that is our number, our 12 through 1s. We mentioned our honorable mentions. Do you think any of those honorable mentions can make a case for 9 through 12 next year? For me, Brian Thomas, like we mentioned, is there for me.
I think Devontae Smith and I think DK could both shoot up those, especially if DK gets moved. Yeah.
I could see that. I could see the argument for that. Rich, let's get into our rookie profiles here. Are you ready, buddy?
Sure I am.
Who would you like to start with as I figure out the graphic situation here? Because remember what I said, the second one, not the first one, right? So let's try this one and hope that it works. All right, let's see. We're going to start with Quinshon Judkins, Rich. Since I asked you to pick and you didn't pick, we'll start with Judkins.
Sorry, I was
no worries. He is 6 foot, 219 pounds, Ohio State, formerly of Ole Miss, transferred to Ohio State this year and then won a national championship. Big ups to him for making that move. What do you think about that move to Ohio State from Ole Miss? Do you think he should have stayed? Do you think obviously he won a national championship?
No, I think it was the right move. He went and moved and won a championship. So, and it's a ballsy move, dude. It's a ballsy move, and to go 1 year and then come out. It definitely paid off for him.
Yeah, for sure. I was a little concerned going into the year with him having to be the either a 1A or 1B with TreVeyon Henderson, because I really like TreVeyon. He was a guy who could have came out last year and which had an injury history, but decided to stay another year. So it was very interesting to see him decide to make that move to Ohio State. Now, let's talk about a little stats. Would you like to read off the stats for us?
Yeah, sure. 2023 at Ole Miss, he had 271 carries, 1,158 yards, 15 TDs, 22 receptions, which is a surprise because we'll get to it, but he has stone hands. 149 yards and 2 TDs. That was 2023. And then 2024 at Ohio State, 193 carries, 1,060 yards on a 5.5 average, 14 TDs, 22 receptions. Again, surprising. 1,161 yards with 2 TDs.
I think that's 160. I think we added.
I think I put it. I think I added a 1. I might have fat fingered it. I was going to say that's a big ass.
That's a lot of receiving yards
for 22 catches. Holy shit. I didn't put it on here, but he reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt. When I was watching, I kind of seen Kareem Hunt out there, like early on Kareem Hunt. But even so, with Kareem Hunt, he's kind of stayed consistent his entire career. So I think that would be um, kind of a good look for him.
Okay. Yeah, we both watched multiple games of his. Some of the pros that we have moves crisp for his size. For a violent runner, this dude just looks clean in what he does. He
Mm,
just looks very crisp out there. Good burst and build up speed. Not the fastest guy, but his initial
mm-mm.
acceleration to me is extremely impressive. He plants that foot and goes. Really like that. Again, mentioned the power, the violence in his running. I believe PFF had him at like a 3 yards after contact, which is surprising to me. I felt like it was going to be a lot higher. This is a
Mm,
dude you can't just arm tackle. He is going to run through you and he's going to shove you to the ground when he
yeah.
does. Good in short yardage, good around the goal line. We mentioned taking on contact in the middle of the field and impressive vision. See hole, hit the dude in front of you. Quinshon, to me, is a guy who is before we get into the cons, is probably going to be a late second round, early third round pick in the NFL draft. What do you like about his game?
I kind of like think he's like a kind of like a bowling ball when he runs
Mm,
through, hits the hole. He runs through guys. I was looking at when I said Kareem Hunt. I also thought of Frank Gore as well, but Frank Gore is a little bit shorter,
mhm,
but kind of that stocky power. Runs through the hole, runs over you. You better wrap up his legs, or he's gonna, put you on your ass, kind of guy.
mhm,
He does have three down back stuff, which is kind of surprising for a guy who's like a rumbler and a stumbler, you know what I mean? But
mhm.
I like my biggest part was I think that I liked that he can just run straight through you.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned it earlier when we get into the cons here is his hands. I don't think they're the greatest. Uh,
Mm-mm.
had a couple drops on film that I had seen. Um Elusiveness, not a guy who's going to break your ankles in the open field or anything like that. Not the best lateral mover, but he's a big dude, a strong dude. That's kind of what we expect with this archetype of running back. Um, Pass protection, I think, is a little hit and miss at times. He can be a little too overeager, in my opinion, or tries to use too much strength. Uh, it's something that definitely can be improved. What do you think?
Yeah, it's something. I mean, he's a young kid, so I mean, there's always room for improvement. Um, Especially going from college to pros, they're going to learn a ton of things that you haven't even thought of yet. So we'll
Yeah.
definitely see. I think it also depends on where he lands.
Yeah, sorry, the sun is killing me right now. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's either you're going really dark or really light. I don't know what the hell's
Yeah.
going on.
I'm apparently being like summoned like into heaven or whatever
Yeah,
right now, the amount of sun that's on
you
me.
got fucking
Um,
blinds, dude.
yeah, apparently we just changed them out. We just took them down, so we got to put new ones up. Um, where is he for you in regards to your rankings?
I think right at 4 is about a good spot for him.
Yeah, the PPR upside for me is a little hit and miss. Is he going to be a guy who's going to catch, 5 or 6 passes a game? Probably not. Maybe one,
No.
two at the most. But he's also a dude that can run for 110 yards and 2 TDs, especially around the goal line. Um, he's a guy I think you can get at the back end of your rookie drafts or in the early second. Is that a guy you're interested in?
As my dogs go fucking absolutely ballistic.
They're very excited
Um,
about Quinshon Judkins.
yeah. What did you ask me? Where I would take
Where
him?
would
You
you
want me
be
to second?
comfortable taking him in your rookie drafts?
So I'm not going to tell you exactly who I'm targeting, but there are guys that I'm targeting before him. So if
Mhm.
he fell to me after I was able to at least get one of those guys, then I think I'd be comfortable taking him. Probably like third guy off my board, fourth.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can't argue against that, especially
Mm-mm.
with the running backs. Let's get into
Yeah.
our next guy here, fellow Ohio State gentleman. That is going to be TreVeyon Henderson. Again, another fantastic card made by Rich.
Thank you.
He
Thank you.
made the first one and now this second one as well. This one was posted on Twitter just a few days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm,
TreVeyon Henderson, we have him at, is it on this page or on the second page?
the running back 3.
Yep. No, the size.
Oh, okay.
5'10", 208 pounds is what they have listed. We're going to find that out shortly, what he actually is height and weight is.
Mm.
Tomorrow, I believe, is when the running backs get weighed in, and we'll find that out for Judkins as well. But fellow Ohio State back could have came out last year, has had some injury history, is I think why he decided to stay another year. But let's talk about TreVeyon. He is my running back 3 of the class. We'll just read the 2023 stats. I forgot we had all the stats for him on here.
Yeah.
156 carries, 926 yards, 5.9 average, 11 TDs, 19 receptions, 229 yards. 2024, 144 carries, 1,116 yards, 7.1 yards average, 10 TDs, 27 receptions, 284 yards, 1 TD. Some PFF grades I have for him: 91.8 rushing grade, elusive rating of 108.9, which is spectacular. Yards after contact, 4.43. Surprisingly higher than Quinshon Judkins. Not exactly what I saw for him at all. Carries of 15 plus yards, 21, which is extremely high. I believe that ranks towards the top of the class, if I'm not mistaken. Forgot to write that down. Just a very exciting back. A guy, reason why I have him in number 3. But let's talk about the pros. Lateral quickness. This dude can make you miss every single wear on the field, in short space, in the open field. I think his vision is very positive. I don't think he's the best, but I think it's very good. So I put that as a pros. Hands catcher. One of the routes that I saw him run is that, he's more of a guy who can catch out of the backfield, can catch on these short routes. But this dude ran a sluggo, which if you don't know is a double move on the outside that not a whole lot of running backs ever really run. So to see him get that and make the play over the shoulder catch, super impressive to me. He could have tripped on every single route he had after that, and I would have been completely okay with it because, he just did that. Home run threat. This we saw in the national championship game. No, the game before. In the playoffs, doesn't matter. 75-yard touchdown run to the house. This is a guy who can, turn the tide of a game, turn your fantasy game around, can completely put everything on its head. What do you like about TreVeyon Henderson?
So I think he's kind of the lightning to the thunder.
Can't get any more polar opposite with these two.
Right. He does have slightly less tread on the tires. I think he, out of all the guys we kind of looked at, has the least amount of carries in his college career, although he has more years. I feel like that's slightly less tread on the tires.
It's because of injuries.
Yeah. That's one of the things I was going to say. His injury history is not spectacular. If he can stay on the field, he gives you everything that you said, the lateral quickness. He gives you the ability to make catches and home run plays, but he has to stay healthy and stay on the field.
Yeah, then the cons. I would like to see more passing game usage out of him. I don't know if that's maybe part of the Ohio State game, but 19 receptions, 27. Yeah. Seeing 27 is solid. I definitely think there's room for growth in that.
Sure.
I definitely think he could be a guy that could hit 35, 40, and I'd be okay with that.
So it's not like he can't catch. It's just they're not throwing him the ball.
No, I mean, again, I was talking about this with Nino Brown last night on the show, the Path to the Draft show that him and I do on Thursday nights. This dude doesn't really need to run routes at Ohio State. They have Jeremiah Smith. I think we both know that dude would be the number 1 wide receiver in any draft that he's a part of. Emeka Egbuka, who's coming out this year, Carnell Tate. The running backs don't need to catch the ball. They have the best wide receivers in the country. So, the passing game usage could be better. But again, I see him as a guy who can catch the football, displays positive hands. And I'm just very excited to see where he goes. A lot of people recently have put him as a possible guy who could sneak into the back end of the first by the Kansas City Chiefs. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Rich, where do you have him ranked, and where do you see him going in the NFL?
Yeah, I could see him maybe top end of the second round. Running back 3 is right around. We kind of agree a lot on rankings here, but Kansas City, that'd be kind of a fun fit, I guess. Although I don't want to see them do well. They are turning into a very hate to face, but that would be interesting to see them in that offense for sure.
Now, when it comes to Quinshon and TreVeyon, are you I guess in agreement with me that you prefer TreVeyon over Quinshon?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the elusiveness. I like the quickness, um, more or less than the run you over kind of running back.
Yeah, especially when it comes to fantasy points. I
Mhm,
think that
yeah,
does make a bit of a difference. And I think the
absolutely.
hands in general to me look better than
Puts him a slight
Quinshon's too.
edge. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I think no matter who you get out of these two guys in your rookie drafts, I think both of these guys are, you know, mid to late first, maybe early
Mm,
second, depending on what happens with quarterbacks in this draft. In your
yeah.
rookie drafts, I think both these dudes are going to be good finds. I think both these guys are going to have jobs in the NFL for a long time, especially if they can stay healthy.
Mm,
In TreVeyon's case, for sure. And I think the type of running back Quinshon is has a role in the NFL no matter what. He like a David Montgomery esque type of running back.
yeah,
That's another one we could have even
yeah.
brought up. But again,
Kinda
Lightning
change of
and
pace.
Thunder. Yep. Lightning and Thunder running backs are going to be completely different. Just very excited to see what they do at the combine because I think both of them are going to participate, if I'm not mistaken. I would like to see the cone drills and how the footwork looks
Yeah.
because I think TreVeyon's going to absolutely crush it in the cone drills. And I'm excited to see. I know we don't really love it the 40 times. I want to see what Quinshon runs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just what they, like a baseline.
Yeah. All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Dynasty Dogs brought to you by the Fantasy Football Universe. Thank you for joining us as I'm blinded by the light. Blinded by. But anyway, we will be back next week. I believe we'll talk about what, Rich? What would you like to talk about next week? We've done the quarterbacks last week, right? If I'm not mistaken. We did wide receivers this week. Who do you want to take on next week?
Do you wanna do tight ends?
Yeah, sure. Screw it. Yeah, we'll see.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll go tight ends. The hardest position in fantasy and in dynasty to project is the tight end
Sure.
position. And we will talk about them next week, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Have a good night.
Peace.